Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into In Defense of Food by Michael Pollan, a book that challenges the way we think about eating and nutrition. Pollan's central advice is refreshingly simple. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. But if it's so simple, why do we need a whole book about it? This book isn't just about what to eat. It's about breaking free from the confusion of modern nutrition science, which has turned eating into a complicated, almost scary task. Pollan argues that the Western diet has strayed so far from traditional ways of eating that we're left with more health problems than ever before. By the end of this video, you'll understand Pollan's 3 golden rules, why he's skeptical of nutrition science, and how you can reclaim your relationship with food. Ready to cut through the noise and rediscover what it means to eat well? Let's dig in. First, let's talk about the problem with the Western diet. Pollan argues that our food culture has shifted dramatically over the past century. Instead of eating whole natural foods, we're now consuming highly processed, nutrient-stripped products with ingredients we can't even pronounce. Imagine your body is like an engine. It runs best on clean fuel like fruits, vegetables, and grains. But when you feed it processed foods full of additives and preservatives, it's like running that engine on low-grade fuel. It might work, but not for long, and eventually, problems start to pop up. Pollan explains that the rise of processed foods has been accompanied by an increase in chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. The irony? Despite all our nutrition science, we're less healthy than ever. It's as if we have more knowledge but less wisdom when it comes to eating. One of Pollan's biggest criticisms is aimed at something he calls nutritionism. This is the idea that food is just a sum of its nutrients, carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, and so on. Nutritionism reduces food to these individual parts, ignoring the bigger picture of how food works in its natural form. Imagine breaking down a piano into individual keys and strings, then trying to make music by hitting them separately. Sure, you have all the parts, but without the harmony, it's not the same as a beautiful piano piece. Nutritionism does the same thing to food, focusing on isolated nutrients instead of the whole, natural food. Pollan argues that this approach has led us down a confusing path. We're constantly told to avoid fats one year, then carbs the next. Meanwhile, food companies slap labels like low-fat or sugar-free on products to make them sound healthier, even though they're often loaded with artificial ingredients. The takeaway? Stop focusing on individual nutrients and start seeing food as a whole. The best foods don't come with labels or claims. They're found in the produce aisle, not the snack aisle. So what does Pollan mean by real food? He defines it as food your great-grandmother would recognize. In other words, food that comes from nature, not a factory. Real food doesn't need a marketing campaign, a health claim, or a long ingredient list. It's just food. Imagine you're at the grocery store with your great-grandmother. If she doesn't recognize something as food, it probably isn't. Those colorful, ultra-processed snacks and meals may look convenient, but they're far removed from anything she would have considered edible. Pollan's message is simple. Eat foods that are as close to their natural state as possible. An apple is a whole food. Apple-flavored fruit snacks are not. A baked potato is real food. Cheesy potato-flavored chips are not. Now, let's get into Pollan's 3 golden rules. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. These simple guidelines are Pollan's antidote to our modern food confusion. First, eat food means choosing whole, natural foods over processed ones, like we discussed. The second rule, not too much, is all about portion control. Pollan points out that modern portions are much larger than what our bodies actually need. In blue zone regions where people live the longest, people often stop eating when they're about 80% full. This helps prevent overeating and keeps the body in balance. And finally, mostly plants means making plants the foundation of your diet. Pollan doesn't say you have to go vegetarian, but he suggests that the majority of what you eat should come from the plant kingdom, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Pollan's rules may seem simple, but they're powerful. By focusing on real food, moderation, and plants, you're naturally cutting out the junk and filling your plate with the good stuff. Another lesson from Pollan is the importance of eating mindfully. In our fast-paced world, we often eat on the go, barely tasting our food. But Pollan argues that slowing down and savoring each bite can improve digestion, enhance satisfaction, and help us eat less. Think of eating like listening to a song. If you're only half paying attention, you miss out on the details. But if you listen closely, you catch every note, every beat. Eating is the same. When you slow down and appreciate each flavor, you feel more satisfied and are less likely to overeat. Pollan encourages us to make meals a time of calm and gratitude. Whether it's a family dinner or a solo breakfast, take a few moments to appreciate the food. It's a small change, but it can transform your relationship with food from something rushed to something cherished. Pollan also warns about the health claim trap. Have you ever noticed that the healthiest foods don't have labels? An apple doesn't come with a claim saying it's high in fiber and antioxidants, but a sugary cereal might claim to be heart-healthy just because it's fortified with vitamins. Imagine you're at a party. The loudest, flashiest person might get your attention, but they're not necessarily the most genuine. The same goes for food. The loudest health claims often cover up a not-so-healthy product. Pollan's advice? Stick to foods that don't need labels. Fresh fruits, vegetables, and whole grains are inherently nutritious. If a food needs to tell you it's healthy, it probably isn't. One myth Pollan debunks is the fear of fat. For years, we've been told that fat is the enemy, but Pollan argues that not all fats are created equal. Healthy fats, like those found in olive oil, nuts, and avocados, are actually essential for our health. Think of fat as fuel. Just like a car needs oil to run smoothly, our bodies need good fats for brain function, hormone production, and more. Cutting out all fats isn't healthy. It's about choosing the right kinds of fat. Pollan encourages us to avoid trans fats and overly processed oils and instead focus on natural sources of fat. So go ahead. Enjoy that olive oil on your salad or a handful of nuts as a snack. Your body will thank you. Pollan also emphasizes the importance of food traditions. In many cultures, food isn't just fuel. It's a part of community, family, and identity. Unfortunately, the modern Western diet has replaced tradition with convenience. Imagine food as a story passed down through generations. Each dish has its own history and meaning. When we cook traditional meals, we're connecting with our heritage and eating foods that have sustained people for centuries. Pollan encourages us to bring back family meals, cook more often, and celebrate the process of preparing and sharing food. It's not just about nutrition, it's about bringing joy and connection back to the table. So, what can we learn from In Defense of Food? It's simple. Stop obsessing over nutrients, eat real food, enjoy your meals, and focus on quality rather than quantity. Pollan's advice to eat food, not too much, mostly plants, is a powerful reminder to return to the basics and trust in natural whole foods. Pollan's message is clear. Eating well doesn't have to be complicated or stressful. By choosing real food, slowing down, and honoring food traditions, we can nourish not just our bodies, but our souls as well. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who's confused by modern nutrition, and don't forget to subscribe for more down-to-earth food advice. Thanks for watching, and here's to eating well.